I'd like to get an updated 2021 version of Michael Malice giving advice to young people.
Okay.
So there's, God forbid, high school students, college students listening to you and looking to you for advice.
Mhm.
What advice would you give them about career and about life? How to live a life they can be proud of?
This happens a lot because I have my locals community, malice.locals.com, and there's a lot of young people on there.
Yeah.
So
It's a great place.
I'll give them a meta piece of advice. Don't ask your friends for advice because you're an idiot at your age, and they're all idiots, and they don't want to seem like idiots, so they're just going to give you advice they pulled it from the TV, and no one knows what you're talking about, and it's just going to be counterintuitive.
Yeah.
So seek out advice from people who you seek to emulate. And ask them for advice. If you can't get a hold of them, figure out a way to get a hold of them. Incentivize them in some way. You'd be surprised how many people are responsive on Twitter or in social media if you just ask them a basic life question, because then they can quote tweet an answer to a whole population. So that would be one mechanism. It's also very hard at that age to realize your parents might not be all that bright and they might not be all that good people. So that's a hard one at that age to kind of wrap your head around. Just because they love you doesn't mean they understand you, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. We like everybody.
Shit, your Trump's pretty good too.
I'd
like your Trump to talk to Elon to have a conversation.
Well, Mr. President, look, some things you did I liked, some not so much, but for the most part, I think did kind of a good thing. What are you talking about? Hey guys, what are we talking about? No, I fucked up the Lex. Anyway, so those would be two pieces. The other piece of advice I would say is join a gym or have some kind of quantifiable daily improvement to keep you sane. So the reason I always say weightlifting, and it could be running, it could be jump rope, I don't care what it is, because if you have those numbers moving in the positive direction, psychologically, if you're dealing with depression or anxiety, it's concrete proof to shut your brain up. Because your brain knows how to talk to you. Your brain is often your enemy and it'll say exactly the right thing to undermine you. So that's an issue. This works for me. Maybe it worked for most people. I'm very high on the openness metric. Try new experiences, new things, try things you don't like. It's okay to have a bad experience. You've learned something. So go to a restaurant of a cuisine you wouldn't like or hadn't heard of. Read a book that's popular but you have no interest in. Read a lot. For example, I didn't know anything about the election. What was it, 1892, when there was like a split between the electors? Read a book about it. Oh, I don't know anything. I don't know anything really about Malcolm X. Read a book about him. You'll be amazed how much more full you become as a person.
Do you see value in writing also, like writing down your ideas?
No, I think there's very little value in that. I'm not joking.
So reading is where the biggest
value because you're probably not going to revisit what you've written down.
But the act of writing, you don't see it solidifies somehow thoughts in your mind.
Not for me.
It doesn't for you.
Like a tweet will, because then I have to have it narrowed down into like a phrase.
Oh, the responsibility of there being an audience.
No, I just meant in terms of I've got 280 characters. So if instead of having a meandering thought, I have to codify it in something that's catchy and short. That's a good, useful mental exercise.
What face do you make when you tweet?
I wouldn't know. I don't know. That's a good point.
Is it on the toilet? What percentage is on the toilet?
Very little. On the toilets, I usually more reading.
Okay.
So even though my tweets are all literally shit, very few of them are on the toilet.
They're on a throne.
That's some advice. Don't compare yourself to other people. That's a really dangerous one. All my friends are married. I should have a kid by now. There's an expression in recovery, stop shoulding yourself. But it should.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
I also, and this could be my hoarder brain, I surround my house with talismans of joy. So if you have an accomplishment, like when I did Rogan once, I went to the sock store and I bought these orange socks with black cherries on them. And now whenever I wore those socks, I'm like, oh, this is because I was on Rogan. That was kind of a big deal. So if you have these little things throughout your house, it gives good mental fuel. even like a toy. Remember when I was a kid? Oh, you know what? Little moments that inspire happiness, I think, are visually very useful. So that's another one. And
I, by the way, have the watch, and that because we're talking about 2021. That was really the guy in the lecture hall giving you a pat in the back. Joe giving me the watch was it's life changing for me.
yeah.
It didn't, the fact that it was on a podcast or whatever doesn't matter.
Learn how to form boundaries. That's probably the biggest. That's gonna be number one on my list, because
Can you explain?
you're going to have people around you who feel the need that they're entitled to your time, who feel the need to criticize you, and they're not coming from a good place.
Yeah.
So it's very good for you to be like, I'm not interested in talking about this anymore right now.
Yeah. Even if it's your parents.
Even if it's especially if it's your parents. Like, I need my space right now. You're entitled to your space. You're entitled to your time. No one owes you. You don't owe anyone a response. If someone has a question, you owe them an answer, especially if they're not coming at you in good faith or they're coming in a hostile way. That's a big one. It's hard to learn at that age. And be valuable to those who are around you. Be someone who people are happy to see, and if things are bad, like, you're the one that they can rely on. Like, I was just a little bit under the weather, and I thought to myself, you know what, if things got really bad, I'll call Blair, and she would take care of me, and that kind of was very reassuring.
Mm-hmm. And you can always call me if you need heavy stuff lifted in an urgent matter.
Because of the robots?
No, it's just me. It's kind of like that's those things I can help with. Or you're actually literally bleeding. I'm not a good caretaker. I can save you though. I can murder if you need somebody
murdered. Yeah,
I can
yeah.
do this.
Yeah. Wait, what advice would you have to kids that age? And you're a lot younger than you think you are. That's the other one. Like,
yeah, there's time.
I know. Like, it's impossible to understand when you're 26 that your 40s are better than your 30s. Because, like, okay, old man, that's all cope. I promise you it is.
Yeah, I think you said so many beautiful things. I would say another version of the openness. I'll say take big risks when you're young.
Like, because if you fail, who cares? You're sleeping on a futon. Who cares?
Yeah, and take them often.
Yeah.
Also, this is a little personal to me. I get pushback on this, but I think take big risks and work really hard, like at whatever you do. Like, I think you just have to give yourself to a thing. It doesn't have to be in terms of time, but really give everything. So it's not like I'm going to try doing this. I'll try with all of your heart. Like, really commit yourself. That doesn't mean necessarily hours. That doesn't mean, but like, if you fail at doing a thing that you commit to, it should hurt. So like when I competed in jiu-jitsu, or you do like sports and so on, don't just say, I'm going to have fun out there, so on. No, try to win. And because then if you don't, it hurts, and you learn from that. And then throughout, I think this the goodness thing is be kind. It's like some of it is also a skill, allowing yourself to be kind. I found myself earlier in life, I still do this. I find like when I hang out with people are often like cynical and negative, and
I try to avoid those people.
No, but like I think everybody falls into that, and sometimes it's the party norm thing. There's a temptation to me to kind of fit in by being more negative than I'm comfortable being, and so resist the pressure. I think especially when you're younger, it's not cool to care.
The thing that drives when you're young, if you are a fan of a band, a writer, a podcaster, an actor, and people roll their eyes at you, watch out. Those people are dangerous. You should have if you love Avril Lavigne with her terrible music, and she gives you joy, and people crap on you, they're wrong and you're right. So hold on to those things that make you happy. And if people want to take that away from you, or how can you like that? Those people are not your friends.
Why do you have to go make life so complicated? She's my favorite musician of all time. Jimi Hendrix second, Avril Lavigne first. Thank you for almost bringing a tear to my eye.